Angeles, a place where your yard is someone else's campground. 911 calls are answered slower than airline customer service, and the governor looks like a die-hard villain.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear California's in a state of turmoil. And I ask my fellow Angelinos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still?
When the unbridled fire of Mel Gibson meets the razor-sharp wit of Greg Gutfeld, the outcome is nothing but political slaughter. Part blockbuster, part late-night carnage, and Gavin Newsom is squarely in the sights. His flawless remarks and picture-perfect hair are insufficient to protect him from the constant barrage of scathing comedy and stark truth. There's more to what happens than a roast. A leader who has run out of places to hide is shown to have fragile foundations when the glossy image is stripped away in this cinematic demolition.
Why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all.
Much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate? It's time to take back our community and our state and put the power and the privilege in the hands of competent leaders whose goals are to protect us and the way of life this nation was founded upon and promises to offer.
Please hit the like button and subscribe before we continue, as you won't want to miss this. 1. Gavin Newsom has devoted so much effort to enhancing his image that it would seem though he was trying out for a role in a Netflix documentary on poor leadership. The man is essentially a living billboard for a promotion. The smug smile, flawless teeth, and silky hair like a Kendall created by a committee that want all the traits of a leader, but none of the outcomes.
Make all kinds of horrible theories up in my head, conspiracy theories and everything else, but it just seemed a little convenient that there was no water and and that the wind conditions were right and that there are people ready and willing and able to start fires. And are they commissioned to do so, or are they just acting on their own volition? I don't know. But they seem pretty well equipped, some of these people that they're catching.
A lot of questions. A lot of questions, Mel. Mel, a message tonight.
Yeah, you know, I'll sift through the remains of my place and see if I can find any clues for you.
Mel Gibson, Greg Gutfeld, and others see right through it. As a warning, they put what's left on a wall after running it through a wood chipper. It turns out that the person behind the sanctimonious press appearances and pricey suit is not a visionary with the constancy of a hurricane's weather vane. It is a political influencer.
When a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow balls.
Greg Gutfeld interjects with the dexterity of a stand-up comedian who has witnessed this act 100 times and still manages to make fun of it. He notes that Newsom's California is more of a clearance rack at a company closing than a Golden State. All of the issues that have persisted for years are still there. All of his pledges to remedy it are still lingering in the atmosphere, akin to smog over Los Angeles. Higher taxes, higher crime, and higher homelessness.
Destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
He's absolutely correct.
I loved every moment of that, and I need to do that now too. I want to be on your show, but with my arms crossed and very, very serious. I wonder where he filmed that, because he wasn't in his own house, because his house burned down. This is personal with Mel, and it should be personal to everybody in Los Angeles.
The only thing that is declining in California is the amount of individuals who can live there without having to sell their kidneys. Mel Gibson adds insults to Gutfeld's description of it as a bloated political experiment where common sense dies, accusing Newsom of making the state into a cautionary tale with tent-lined streets, businesses evading, and restrictive rules. They contend that it's not leadership, but rather a live-action disaster film in which Newsom takes on the roles of both director and demolition crew, prioritizing his brand over cleaning up the devastation.
I think there's about 100 other reasons too.
Well, you can't, it's not his words when he speaks.
Yeah.
You have to watch him closely. And some genius decided not to film him any lower than the shoulder.
Yes, did you? Yes.
So what did he do?
You couldn't see the hands.
No, but he sent Morse code.
Yes.
Go back and watch it. Look at the blinking. Blink, look. Meet me at the house. Like, he's blinking. He's sending. I'm getting there. Hey, just so you know, I'm not wearing pants.
As someone who would stand atop a burning ship and declare it okay because it looks good on TV, Gibson makes fun of Newsom, calling the blackouts a terrible Hollywood plot twist. He mocks the governor for managing an electrical grid that collapses during a heat wave while advocating for climate leadership. Tag teaming with Gutfeld, they picture Newsom in Iowa, touting prosperity while farmers look up the reasons California is in disarray on Google, claiming his failings aren't the result of chance but rather a deft combination of credit-taking and blame-shifting. Do you find this personality appealing?
On Rogan's podcast, when I guess you learned that your home had been lost.
Well, I didn't learn it was lost. I knew the neighborhood was on fire, then I was in the path, so I was a little tense while I talked to Joe, but he's a guy that can put you at your ease fairly well, so I was doing okay. And I knew that my family was safe and out of harm's way.
Were you able to get possessions? Of course, they're really immaterial when you have your family, but I've been to your house. It was an incredible home, beautiful home. But were you able to get anything out of your house?
Not much. A few necessary things. You know, my son I said, just go and grab this and this and this. And he grabbed like 3 things and took off. And then, you know.
Celebrating reform as communities are drowning in crime is what Gibson refers to as willful blindness. The roast turns into a self-defeating demolition derby of poor policy halfway through, they denounce Newsom's hypocrisy for advocating sacrifice while dining in upscale establishments without a mask. Gutfeld criticizes his unity speech while living above the law. Gibson compares it to a filmmaker who underpays actors while keeping the money for himself. He refers to it as the California Exodus, where sunshine is replaced with functional infrastructure and reasonably priced rent, and moving trucks on the highway serve as the ideal representation of his role.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got cut.
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes.
Was it because of Israel? Yes. Interest rates? Yes. Too woke? Yes. Like every bad policy that trickled up to the White House during the Biden administration started in California. That state is responsible for the worst politicians in modern history. And he is at the top of the list, and there are some ignoramuses on that.
While Gibson jokes that you need a permit to complain about permits, Gutfeld rips apart the economy by portraying California's high taxes as a ransom for driving on pothole-filled streets. Newsom boasts about progress while businesses run away and storefronts board up. The title, Cal leads the nation in renewable excuses, is what Gibson imagines when they mock his green energy, hypocrisy electric automobiles in a state that can't keep the lights on. His career is ultimately derided as a poor sequel, bloated, predictable, and greenlit solely for the star's attractive appearance on screen.
I do think he's given a lot more credibility because his son is a firefighter out there. His son is fighting these fires, so he does have some inside information and some intel. But, you know, I do believe that the majority of people believe that this is on the government. According to Fox News, Gavin Newsom cut funding for wildlife and forest resilience by more than $1 million just months before these wildfires. Mayor Karen Bass initially tried to cut from the LA Fire Department's budget $23 million in 2024, but settled for $17.6 million in cuts.
In classic Hollywood fashion, Gibson concludes, if California under Newsom were a movie, it would be a box office bomb beautifully shot, but unwatchable. Gutfeld warns that it would be like franchising a bankrupt restaurant as they return to his aspirations to become president. The tape clearly shows that California is okay, but Gibson imagines him on a national debate stage arguing otherwise. The roast concludes with the knowledge that the story is far from over. Newsom's gift isn't wisdom, but rather picture ops and word salads that are fit for a vegan brunch, while Californians are paying electricity bills that are comparable to the GDP of a small nation.
Telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox.
The deception was exposed by Gutfeld and Gibson, who realized that Newsom was an overpaid motivational speaker with a history of blackouts and company emigration rather than a master of advancement. California lost residents, such as those who watched the reality show Escape from Newsom's California. He made his state with favorable weather, abundant resources, and a top-tier economy into the last level of a glitchy video game, complete with challenges and no way to win. Gibson mocked his Hollywood-type management approach, which prioritized capturing the ideal Instagram photo over problem-solving.
The same day that Mel Gibson says what he says there, and he's correct on so many things as far as the management of wildfires, Gavin Newsom's approval on the handling of the wildfires is only 30%.
Wow.
Gavin Newsom announced that he has a podcast that he's about to launch. When you have a finely tuned machine like California is right now, where you have the highest poverty rate in the country, highest taxes in the country, you have 10 cities that have their own zip codes, and you have fire hydrants and reservoirs that don't have water in it, this is justified. And Gavin Newsom, remember, just last year we were talking about, will he be the Democratic nominee? Then you ask Californians. 7 in 10 Californians right now say that Gavin Newsom should not run for president.
Greg made fun of Newsom's fixation on banning things like plastic straws, gas lawnmowers, and single-use plastics, while homelessness, crime, and taxes continued to rise. In California, a plastic spoon required a permit, but a robber could be caught in broad daylight without posting bail. PR took the place of results, and the governance was based on appearances. In the meantime, families sought cheaper housing and reduced taxes in Texas, Arizona, and Florida. Still, Newsom positioned himself as a progressive role model, the type of politician who would declare the concert a success after half the crowd had left.
It's in motion and his hair full of lotion. True, Gavin's views may be idiotic, but his hands and moves, well, they're hypnotic. California Governor Newsom's new podcast is out. It's available wherever fine hair care products are sold. And we couldn't help but notice an unintended delight is unique.
Mel compared Newsom's career to a movie with gorgeous sights, but a bad script, perfect settings, well-tailored suits, and a convoluted storyline. Poor policy was blamed for housing problems, while schools were disregarded in favor of ostentatious but ineffective climate projects. Everyone wanted applause, but it felt like a director's cut. Greg likened his leadership style to a nice, expensive restaurant that serves little, artistic plates, but it leaves you hungry. Instead of symbolism, Californians required substance, and Newsom appeared to be trying out for the position of America's strictest governor.
2019, I think Newsom said, I'm going to take care of the forests and maintain the forests and do all that kind of stuff. He didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. And then on top of that, they cut the water off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all funny. And then I think all our tax dollars probably went for Gavin's hair gel. I don't know, but it's like, it's sad. It's like the place is just on fire.
Well, the whole state is just so...
Residents were instructed to dig down, businesses closed, and children were kept out of classrooms. While Newsom ate a rent-sized lunch at a posh restaurant without a mask, it was elitist haughtiness disguised as political play, as Mel put it. His goal in California was to maintain a national image rather than to uplift others. While wildfires displaced thousands of people and choked the air, he was auditioning for environmental leadership, as its speeches alone could make reality fit his story. He wasn't leading, he was auditioning.
Exactly is he trying to say here, huh? Is it a mysterious form of sign language for morons? Is he conveying some secret code to terrorists? Is he signaling the Los Angeles Angels to steal third base? But I'm willing to bet that former Californians recognize those hand signals. They're the motions you make to back up a U-Haul as you flee that failed state and head to Texas.
Newsom continued to portray himself as America's future in spite of the turmoil. Mel and Greg witnessed a man so engrossed in his story that he disregarded the consequences. Instead of being innovative, California was a cautionary story masquerading as success. They portrayed him as a leader whose biggest achievement was persuading people that style was more important than substance during the height of the roast. Newsom's real gift, according to Greg, was public relations, which was ideal for a legacy that was based on appearing nice, but never resolving the issues he detailed.
There is absolutely no adequate excuse the governor or mayor can make for this gross mismanagement and failure to preemptively deal with what they knew was coming. Newsom, since he's been in, whatever you call it, office, has brought us nothing but rampant crime, acute homelessness, horrendous inflation. He's made it untenable for people to make a living.
The exodus demonstrated that California under Gavin Newsom had reached a breaking point, making it a test of how far the gap between presentation and reality could go before people stopped applauding. His career is like a slow-motion train catastrophe, Netflix series that no one wanted but kept being renewed. In a blazing theater, he is practicing his punchlines rather than taking the lead. California is entitled to more than a taxpayer-funded influencer, but here we are anticipating a new season that will undoubtedly be even more absurd.